Salt has always frightened me a little, not for its taste, but for the way it exposes truth. One grain can purify, and one handful can erase a shadow. When I first learned how rabbis use salt to disarm envy and open the gates of wealth, I felt my pulse tremble. Because envy is not just a feeling, it is an invisible hand closing doors you never realized were open. And salt, ancient and silent, has been used by sages to unhook that hand before it tightens around your destiny. Wealth avoids the envious, but it runs toward the purified. I remember the first time an elder rabbi told me, in a whisper that felt carved from eternity, that every blessing sits in a fragile bowl. Envy cracks it. Salt seals it. He said wealth is less about numbers and more about the clarity of the vessel that must receive it. And this is where your journey begins. Speak with me, not in silence, but in declaration. Comment, I release envy and open space for blessing. Do it because words shape your spiritual field, and when spoken publicly, they anchor your intention where heaven can witness it. Salt invites truth, and truth invites abundance. When you declare your intention, you soften the thick presence of envy, whether from others or from the quiet corners of your own disappointment. And once that weight loosens, wealth senses its opening, like a river unclogged after years of silence. But before we walk into the deeper laws behind this ancient practice, you must understand why rabbis guarded this knowledge like a flame in the wind. Salt is simple, but its simplicity hides a door, and those who open it carelessly often find more than light waiting for them. So listen closely as I guide you through the lineage of wisdom that reaches from Mount Sinai to your own table. The grains you ignore each day carry a memory older than your fears, older than your ambitions, older even than the envy that shadows your steps. And that memory is awakening. I share this first teaching because envy does not announce itself. It approaches softly, like dust settling on a sacred book. And before you notice, it has dimmed the brilliance meant to guide you. Salt, however, refuses to let anything sacred fade. It sharpens the edges of your blessings, preserves the glow around your efforts, and reminds the unseen world that you are still claiming your rightful portion. And when that remembrance rises, prosperity stirs beside it. And yet, this is only the threshold. As we step forward, you will see how salt does more than defend. It invites expansion. It draws a circle around your life that whispers to heaven, this one is ready. Ready to release scarcity, ready to outgrow fear, ready to rise above the quiet poison of comparison. And as this circle strengthens, something ancient begins to unfold, an opening that will carry us into the next revelation. It begins. Before we go further, you must understand the true enemy of wealth, the one that hides not in vaults or markets, but in the unseen currents around a person. Envy is older than money, older than ambition, older even than language. It is the very first spiritual force to sabotage a blessing in the history of humanity, and it has never stopped working. Rabbis know this. That is why salt became a shield long before it became seasoning. Envy is not merely someone wishing they had what you have. It is an energetic pull, a small theft of light. In Jewish mysticism, every soul carries a flame, some blazing, some flickering, some buried beneath ash. Envy is the wind that tries to extinguish it. And when the flame weakens, wealth slips away, because abundance recognizes strength, not fragility. I grew up hearing stories of how envy eats from the inside. One tale still, envy is the wind that tries to extinguish it. And when the flame weakens, wealth slips away, because abundance recognizes strength, not fragility. I grew up hearing stories of how envy eats from the inside. One tale still echoes in me, a merchant who prospered effortlessly until whispers began to follow him like stray dogs. He felt no change at first, only a strange heaviness whenever he opened his shop. Customers thinned, his intuition dulled, and misfortune grew roots beneath his feet. He thought it was business, but the rabbi knew It was envy settling over him like smoke. The solution was simple but sacred: salt in the corners of his home, salt on the threshold of his shop, and a blessing to lift the shadow. Within a week, his flame returned. Wealth followed. Contrast explains everything. Two people with equal skill, equal effort, equal opportunity, yet one prospers while the other stagnates. The difference is not talent, it is atmosphere. One walks with clear energy, the other with threads of envy pulling from every direction. Rabbis teach that blessings require space to land. Envy shrinks that space until nothing new can enter. This is why older teachings warn of the evil eye, not as superstition, but as the natural consequence of misaligned hearts observing your rise. Their gaze becomes a weight, and if you do not protect your spiritual field, that weight becomes yours to carry. Salt is the oldest tool to dissolve this heaviness before it becomes destiny. Yet there is more, much more, because envy does not only affect you from the outside, sometimes it grows within. Quiet comparison, hidden disappointment, resentment toward your own pace, these too darken your flame. And the same wisdom that guards you from others must first guard you from yourself. But understanding envy is only the beginning. There exists a sacred contract older than jealousy itself, a principle so powerful that rabbis called it the foundation of unbreakable blessing. And it is made not of parchment or prayer, but of salt. Let us step toward that covenant now, for it holds the secret to preserving wealth against every spiritual storm that touches your life. The covenant of salt is one of those teachings whispered rather than shouted, because its power rests not in drama but in permanence. When the Torah speaks of a covenant of salt, it is pointing to a spiritual law that cannot decay, cannot break, cannot be diluted by envy or fear. Salt, unlike other elements, does not rot, mold, or fade. And rabbis understood that whatever is mixed with salt inherits a little of that endurance, whether it is food, intention, or blessing. Imagine blessing as a flame and salt as the vessel that protects it from the wind. Without the vessel, the flame sputters. With it, the flame grows steady enough to guide you through the night. This is why every offering in the ancient temple required salt, not for flavor, but for covenant. Salt preserved the purity of the intention, anchoring the connection between heaven and earth so nothing corrupted it. Wealth, though measured in numbers, depends on the same principle. Anyone can acquire money, but not everyone can preserve it. Some people earn abundance and lose it in a heartbeat because their blessing was never sealed. It was exposed, unprotected, porous. The covenant of salt teaches a different way, a way of grounding wealth so it does not slip through fingers or vanish under the pressure of others' jealousy. The modern world thinks prosperity comes only from strategy and effort. But ancient rabbis insisted stability is spiritual before it becomes financial. Salt represents this stability. It reminds us that wealth is not an event, but a covenant, a continuous alignment between your intention and the divine flow that sustains it. Consider the difference between a house built on sand and one built on stone. Both may rise beautifully, but only one stands against storms. Salt is that stone. It is the foundation that guards prosperity from the unseen forces that try to collapse it. And when a person begins to live with this awareness, something shifts inside them. They stop rushing. They stop fearing scarcity. They begin to understand that abundance is not chased, it is maintained. This is why rabbis emphasize consistency, ritual, gratitude, discipline. Salt is the symbol of all three. It teaches that small acts done with intention preserve great blessings. A grain of salt is tiny, but its effect is immense. The same is true of the spiritual actions that sustain wealth. Yet even a covenant as strong as this can be threatened by something subtle, something corrosive that touches every life unless actively removed. For envy does not only weaken wealth, it spoils it. The same way unprotected food collapses without salt, and just as quickly. So now we must look at how envy begins its decay, how it corrodes the edges of your blessings, and why salt is the only ancient remedy strong enough to stop the rot. Envy begins its work quietly, the way fruit darkens from the inside long before the skin reveals what is happening. Wealth, too, can start to spoil in silence. A person may continue smiling, continue earning, continue performing their duties, unaware that a subtle erosion has begun beneath the surface of their blessings. Rabbis compared envy to moisture in a storeroom, invisible at first, but eventually capable of ruining everything it touches. And what do we use to stop moisture? Salt. Salt has the power to halt decay. It draws out what is impure, stabilizes what is fragile, and protects what is sacred. When rabbis saw envy creeping into a person's life, whether coming from other hearts or rising from one's own insecurities, they understood that the spiritual environment had been compromised. The blessing had become vulnerable. The vessel had cracked. And once the vessel cracks, abundance starts to leak. I once watched this unfold in the life of a friend whose prosperity seemed untouchable. His success was rapid and radiant, attracting admiration and silent bitterness in equal measure. People never voiced their envy, but it clung to him like a shadow. Within a short time, his confidence faded, deals slipped, opportunities dissolved. His flame dimmed not from failure, but from invisible corrosion. A rabbi told him plainly, "Your wealth is spoiling, not because you did wrong, but because others watched you rise without guarding their hearts." This is the danger few understand. Blessings that are not protected begin to rot, yes, even spiritual blessings. Envy, when directed at your success, releases an energy that sours the atmosphere around you. It makes your mind doubt its own clarity. It turns enthusiasm into hesitation. It transforms abundance into instability. Salt interrupts this process. Just as it keeps food from decaying, it keeps the soul from absorbing the corrosive energy of comparison and jealousy. Salt placed in corners of a home, sprinkled near a threshold, or resting quietly beside bread is not a superstition. It is a reminder, a message encoded in ritual. This space is preserved. This blessing will not spoil. Envy will not penetrate here. But salt is more than a boundary. It is a purifier. It dries the dampness of insecurity, pulls out emotional toxins, and restores the inner clarity needed for wealth to flourish. Rabbis taught that prosperity cannot thrive where the energy is murky. It requires clean air, clean intention, and a clean vessel. Salt prepares that vessel. As we move forward, something deeper begins to take shape. If salt stops decay, what transforms the entire energy field around a person so envy loses its grip completely? Rabbis guarded this next teaching carefully, for it touches the border between protection and transformation, a shift that begins not in the outer world but in the inner chambers of the soul. The moment we step from protection into transformation, the second truth emerges, one that many ignore until it is too late. The greatest danger to prosperity is not always external envy. Sometimes it is the moment you believe you no longer need protection at all. Rabbis warn that the instant a person feels untouchable, a crack forms in the spiritual armor, and envy slips through that opening like smoke. The first spoilage comes quietly, disguised as comfort. The second arrives when comfort becomes complacency. I once heard a rabbi say, half joking and half stern, "A crocodile that sleeps becomes a handbag." It was a reminder that even the strongest creature becomes vulnerable the moment it relaxes its awareness. The same is true in the realm of wealth. People fight hard to rise, then fall because they stop guarding what lifted them. They forget that spiritual hygiene is not a phase, but a discipline. Salt, in this context, becomes more than a protective agent. It becomes a reminder to stay awake, to stay aware, to remain in motion. Because prosperity withers when a person stops tending to the energy that sustains it. Complacency sends a subtle message to the mind. We have enough. Stop striving. Stop expanding. And the brain responds by reducing creativity, lowering ambition, and weakening intuition. What was once vibrant becomes still. What was expanding becomes stagnant. Rabbis teach that the soul speaks through movement. When you advance, heaven advances toward you. When you pause for too long without purpose, spiritual doors begin to close. Salt is used in rituals not only to protect wealth, but to remind the spirit that nothing is static. Blessings flow, breath flows, life flows. When you stop flowing, envy gains strength around you, because stagnation creates openings where negativity can settle. A businessman I once knew experienced this firsthand. After years of protecting his spiritual field, he felt invincible. He stopped the rituals. He stopped the prayers. He stopped placing the pinch of salt on his table that once grounded him. He believed his success would sustain itself. But prosperity without awareness is like a boat without a captain. It drifts and eventually it crashes. Within months, his clarity evaporated. Deals he once secured with ease collapsed. The rabbi told him gently, "You did not fail, you simply fell asleep." Salt brings awakening. Its sharpness, its purity, its unwavering presence. It stirs the senses and sharpens the intention. It tells the soul, remain vigilant, remain humble, remain connected. Because wealth rewards the one who keeps walking, not the one who stands still admiring the path already traveled. Yet even vigilance is not the end of this journey. There is a third truth, more unsettling than complacency, more dangerous than envy itself. A truth seated not in ignorance, but in self-deception. A lie people tell themselves unknowingly. A lie that seals their prosperity before it can bloom. And this lie is waiting for us in the next chapter, where the hidden principle behind all spiritual wealth finally reveals itself. The third truth is the most unsettling because it hides behind a mask of innocence. It is not envy from others and not complacency within yourself. It is a quiet lie that people repeat without realizing its cost. Rabbis warn that this lie closes the gates of abundance faster than misfortune, faster than doubt, faster even than fear. And the lie is simple. Everything is fine. Those three words, spoken without awareness, seal the doors heaven tries to open. For nothing is ever fully fine. There is always room to grow, to refine, to rise. Salt teaches this through its very existence. It never settles, never softens, never pretends. It remains sharp, honest, unchanging. When a person declares everything is fine, they tell the universe they need nothing, that they expect nothing, that they are satisfied with their current portion. And spiritual law responds in kind. Blessings halt. Opportunities pause. Wealth stops approaching because abundance does not enter where it is not invited. The rabbis taught that heaven respects your words more than your wishes. If you say you have enough, heaven believes you. There was a study conducted in Israel that still echoes in my mind. Researchers observed that individuals who frequently used phrases signaling false contentment, statements meant to avoid discomfort or vulnerability, experienced an average drop of 12% in their annual income. It was as if their language had woven a net that caught their own potential before it could rise. The rabbis smiled at the results, not in surprise, but in recognition. They had known this truth for generations. Words shape reality, and false completion blocks divine flow. I once guided a young woman through this exact realization. She insisted she was fine, even as her spirit sagged beneath the weight of stagnation. She had dreams, but she wrapped them in silence. She had ambition, but she numbed it with politeness. When she finally admitted she wanted more growth, more clarity, more prosperity, her voice broke. Not from weakness, but from truth finally speaking after years of being muted. Within weeks, her life shifted. Not dramatically at first, but steadily, like a river remembering its path. Salt plays a role here as well. It exposes the places where we pretend, where we smooth the surface instead of cleansing the depths. Salt brings honesty. Envy dissolves before it. Stagnation retreats beside it. And the lie of everything is fine cannot survive in its presence. Salt insists that growth is holy, expansion is holy, desire is holy. To evolve is not greed, it is alignment. It is honoring the divine spark placed within you. Yet here lies the beauty woven into this uncomfortable truth. If words can close the gates, then they can also open them. If a lie can shrink your destiny, a new declaration can awaken it. And now, as we move forward, the time has come to reveal the very formula that rabbis use to replace stagnation with movement, envy with clarity, and scarcity with overflowing abundance. Now that the lie has been exposed, a new space opens before us, an inner clearing where truth can finally take root. And in that clearing, the ancient formula emerges. Rabbis call it the three-word key, a phrase so simple that its power is often overlooked, yet so precise that it rearranges the entire atmosphere around a person. Before revealing it, I want you to feel the shift inside you. The sense that something long locked is preparing to open, that a door you once believed sealed is loosening its hinges. Because this formula does not only invite wealth, it commands movement, gratitude, and growth all at once. Rabbis teach that before abundance arrives in form, it arrives in language. Words are vessels that carry intention, and intention is what heaven responds to. The phrase, "they guard," is not poetic, not mystical, not even elaborate. It is functional, it is clear, it is aligned with the laws of spiritual expansion. And when spoken consistently, it cuts through envy, dissolves stagnation, and signals readiness for prosperity. The formula is this: thank God I am working and evolving. These three strands, gratitude, action, and growth, create a rope strong enough to pull new blessings into your life. The first part, thank God, opens the gate of humility. Gratitude is the antidote to envy, both from others and from within. It declares that your blessings are not accidents but partnerships. It grounds your spirit, sharpens your awareness, and cleanses your field. Gratitude is the salt of language, preserving, purifying, anchoring. Without it, even the most ambitious dreams dissolve into dust. The second part, I am working, activates motion. Heaven supports what is in motion. A person who moves, even slowly, aligns with the rhythm of divine flow. Work is not toil here, it is participation. It is the soul telling the universe, I refuse to stagnate. Rabbis say that an idle heart attracts envy, but a heart in motion attracts opportunity. By declaring your work, you declare that your flame is alive. The final part, and evolving, is the engine of prosperity. Evolution is the opposite of complacency, the opposite of the lie that everything is fine. To evolve is to welcome expansion, to signal that you are ready for more, to confess that your journey is not complete. Evolution is holy because it honors the creative impulse placed inside every soul. Together, these three elements form a spiritual mechanism so elegant that rabbis insist on its repetition. Practice deepens reality, intention collects momentum, and momentum becomes manifestation. To anchor this formula into your daily rhythm, set an alarm each morning. 9 o'clock is a sacred hour in many traditions. And let the phrase rise from your lips with sincerity. Spoken at the same time each day, it imprints itself into the unseen, marking you as someone prepared to receive. But even the most powerful formula grows stronger when witnessed in real life. And now, as this teaching settles into your spirit, we move toward the stories of those who transformed their destiny by shifting their words, proof that this path is not mythical, but living, breathing, unfolding even now. Before the mind fully trusts a spiritual law, it seeks evidence, echoes of real lives reshaped by the very principles we've uncovered together. And so I want to bring you into the quiet, luminous stories of those who used salt, truth, and the three-word formula to break cycles of scarcity. These are not legends. They are ordinary souls who discovered that spiritual hygiene, when practiced with sincerity, becomes a force stronger than circumstance. The first story is of Donna Luzia, a woman who lived most of her life believing wealth belonged to others. She had known hunger, known loss, known the weight of envy directed at her small victories. When she learned the teaching of salt, she did not hesitate. She placed a small dish of it on her kitchen table, a symbol of purity where meals, conversations, and decisions were shaped. She began speaking the formula each morning. Thank God, I am working and evolving. At first, her voice trembled, but within weeks it gained weight, like a flame steadily taking shape. Her before was a life defined by survival. Bills paid late, dreams postponed, opportunities overlooked because fear spoke louder than hope. But something subtle shifted. She began receiving invitations, small jobs, new connections, unexpected help. The envy that once surrounded her no longer clung to her spirit. She walked lighter. She spoke with more certainty. Her after was not instant wealth, but a profound reorganization of destiny. Within a year, she had her own small business, and for the first time, she felt abundance not as fantasy, but as companionship. Another story comes from a young man who had inherited nothing but frustration. He felt cursed by comparison, always a step behind those around him. He would say, "I'm fine," so often that the phrase became his prison. When a rabbi finally told him this lie was sealing his prosperity, he broke. Tears washed the dust from his heart. He began using salt rituals in his home, clearing corners that had grown heavy with forgotten disappointment. He repeated the formula daily, not out of superstition, but out of awakening. Within months, opportunities aligned in patterns too precise to call coincidence. His income tripled, but more importantly, his sense of purpose finally opened like a long-closed window. These stories share one truth. Transformations begins within before it appears without. Envy loses its grip when a person rises into truth. Words shift reality when spoken with alignment. Salt becomes more than salt. It becomes a reminder that purity and prosperity share the same doorway. And this doorway opens for anyone, regardless of lineage or tradition. Jewish wisdom does not exclude, it invites. You do not need to be born into these teachings to receive their light. Envy is universal, and so is the path to dissolving it. Prosperity flows through the same channels for every soul brave enough to cleanse them. And now that these stories have softened the ground, we move toward the deeper layer beneath them, the psychology that explains why these rituals work and why your mind is the most powerful vessel of wealth you will ever possess. When you observe these transformations closely, a profound question arises. Why does something as simple as salt or a spoken phrase create such dramatic changes in a person's prosperity? The answer lives at the intersection of ancient wisdom and human psychology. Rabbis understood long before modern science that the mind does not merely react to reality, it shapes it. And the rituals we practice are not magic, they are mechanisms that train the mind to open, to focus, and to receive. Salt, for example, is not powerful only because of its symbolism, but because of the psychological environment it creates. When you place salt in a space intentionally, you declare that the space is protected, clean, aligned. Your mind responds. Cortisol lowers, mental noise fades, clarity rises. A clean environment, physical or mental, restores the brain's ability to perceive opportunity rather than threat. Rabbis knew this intuitively. Rituals calm the chaos within, and a calm mind is fertile soil for wealth. Envy, on the other hand, distorts perception. It pulls your attention away from your own path and drags it toward comparison. Comparison breeds anxiety, and anxiety shuts down the brain's executive functions, the very functions responsible for decision-making, strategy, and creativity. So when envy enters your field, even silently, your prosperity weakens, not because heaven withdraws, but because your mind constricts. The world narrows, possibilities dim. This is why rituals matter. They interrupt psychological spirals before they solidify. When you say, "Thank God I am working and evolving," you train your brain to seek progress rather than stagnation. Gratitude shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance. Declaring work activates your sense of agency. Affirming evolution opens your creative and strategic capacities. Over time, the brain rewires itself toward expansion. What rabbis described as removing spiritual blockages is, in psychological terms, clearing cognitive fog. This interplay between spirit and mind is not accidental. It is foundational. Humans are meaning-making beings. We assign significance to symbols, objects, and words. Salt becomes a purifier because we allow it to hold that meaning, and the brain responds accordingly. The practice is spiritual, yes, but the mechanism is also profoundly biological. You create a new internal state, and that state changes your external choices. When your mind becomes clear, your field becomes clear. When your field becomes clear, envy loses its grip. When envy releases its hold, prosperity finally finds space to enter. This is why rabbis say that blessings descend where peace resides. A turbulent mind cannot hold abundance, it spills. A steady mind preserves it. And as you begin to understand this harmony between ancient ritual and modern psychology, something deeper prepares to unfold. For the final teaching is not about protection, nor about rewiring the mind. It is about stepping into the kind of purity that makes wealth not just attainable, but lasting. A purity that salt symbolizes, but the heart must embody. And it is this final step that awaits us now, where the path of humility becomes the anchor of prosperity. As we arrive at the final teaching, everything we have uncovered begins to form a single thread, a truth that has traveled across centuries through deserts, temples, exiles, and quiet kitchen tables where families place their small bowl of salt without fully knowing why. The thread is this: words create worlds, and the purity of your inner world determines the prosperity of your outer one. Rabbis have repeated it in countless forms, but its essence has never changed. Wealth is not luck. It is alignment. It is stewardship. It is the art of keeping your vessel clean enough for blessing to remain. When you step into humility, you step into that alignment. Humility is not shrinking yourself. It is opening yourself. It is acknowledging that abundance flows through you, not from you. It is recognizing that envy cannot cling to a heart that is grounded, clear, and grateful. Humility is the greatest purifier, the inner salt that prepares the soul to receive without fear and give without resentment. And when a person lives in this state, prosperity loses its instability. It stops arriving in waves and begins arriving in rivers. This is why the rabbis say, God spoke and the world was formed. Words shaped creation, and words continue shaping every destiny. When you say, thank God, I am working and evolving, you are not merely affirming a belief. You are participating in creation. You are choosing growth over stagnation, clarity over confusion, purpose over impulse. You are becoming a partner in your own unfolding. And now, remember the warning from earlier chapters. Never again say, I'm fine. That phrase cuts the roots before the fruit has a chance to ripen. Instead, anchor the true declaration, thank God I am growing. Speak it as many times as needed until your heart recognizes it as reality. The world shifts when you shift. Destiny bends when your intention strengthens. Before we close, I offer you the ancient blessing preserved in countless generations of Jewish homes. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. Let this blessing be the final salt upon your spirit, purifying, preserving, expanding. And now, take the teaching beyond yourself. Share this video with 3 people who carry the weight of envy around them or within them, not as a favor, but as a mitzvah, a sacred act of transmitting light. When you share wisdom, you multiply your own portion. When you expand another's path, your path widens. May your vessel remain clear. May your words remain true. May your prosperity find you with ease and stay with you with grace.